actually happens to the dinosaurs at the end of Jurassic Park? Because Jurassic Park was set in 1993. We don't see that island again until 2015. And I know you're probably thinking, well, what happens in the sequel? Well, the sequel was set on a different island, Isla Sorna. So was Jurassic Park 3. That was also set on Isla Sorna. So them dinosaurs from the original Jurassic Park are not seen again till 2015. That means them dinosaurs were left abandoned on that island for at least 22 years, right? Or did something else happen? Well, we're going to explore that in today's video, because believe me, this is going to completely shock some viewers. Because in the novel, the entire island is napalm bombed to kill off every single dinosaur. I know, absolutely crazy. The Costa Rican government come along and napalm bomb the entirety of the island, killing all the dinosaurs so they cannot escape. Now, it's important to note that happens in the novel. That doesn't mean it happens in the movie. And I know you're probably thinking, well, nothing can get worse than that. Well, believe you me, it can get a lot worse. You see, InGen just decide to abandon that island. Hammond leaves on his helicopter with a few survivors, and that's it. No one ever returns. I found that odd, but I've covered that in a different video. We're talking about the dinosaurs today. We know by the very end of the movie, the T-Rex is on the loose. Lots of other dinosaurs are on the loose. The Gallimimus, the Brachys are probably out and about the paddock. But remember, the fences had been restarted, right? Before they leave the island, they actually restore power. Remember that scene where Tim gets electrocuted on the perimeter fence? All power had been restored. Wouldn't that mean then that any dinosaurs still in their paddocks would be contained in their paddock? Yes, it would. The dinosaurs were happily contained until the power went out, remember? That's how the T-Rex escaped. The T-Rex, however, is obviously on the loose, but with the power now back up, there's no way it would be able to smash the fences down. Otherwise, it would have done that anyway in his paddock. The raptors which we know about were defeated by the Rex, so the only animal really out of containment would be the T-Rex, right? Well, during the power outage, several other dinosaurs could have taken the opportunity to leave their paddocks, the Dilophosaurus being one of them. We see Nedry literally on the road to the dock, and a Dilophosaurus turns up there. That doesn't make sense. Why would they have a route to the docks through the Dilophosaurus paddock? Now, we do see Nedry go through the gates into some type of enclosure, meaning was he in the Dilophosaurus paddock? It's hard to tell. I would likely say that the Dilophosaurus did escape his paddock along with the T-Rex, but every other dinosaur you would think was still contained. So why wouldn't InGen just simply go back, now that the power's restarted, and salvage what was left of Jurassic Park? They don't do that, meaning dinosaurs left in their own paddocks would have limited food supplies, surely. Unless they had automated feeders. We did see the goat, but that was manually lifted to try and tempt the T-Rex. Herbivores could probably graze, but any carnivores would have to be fed, because they wouldn't be able to escape their paddocks to feed on any other animals. And there were several carnivores. We had the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is now stuck in the open in the park. It won't be able to smash down any fences with the fences on to hunt down any prey. We had the Dilophosaurus, potentially out and about again. There was a Metracanthosaurus, a Baryonyx, Herosaurus, some Compies. This is the official list from Jurassic Park, by the way. So these carnivores would literally have to hunt any wild animal in their paddock to try and survive, literally becoming wild again. That is, until the fences and the power eventually run out. Now, Jurassic Park was allegedly running on geothermal power, but if there was no one maintaining it, eventually that power would go out and all fences would be down, and it would be a huge free-for-all. The Rex could then go into any paddock, so could any other carnivore. The bigger herbivores could then escape their paddocks, and it would literally be a bloodbath on the island, but eventually settling into its own ecosystem. That is, until illegal dinosaur hunts and poaching take place on Isla Nublar, but I'll come back to that in a second. You see, as I said earlier, the sequels are set on different islands with different sets of dinosaurs. Isla Sorna. Obviously, Isla Sorna collapses, InGen literally goes into administration, and gets bought out by Masrani Global, the people who opened Jurassic World in 2005. So as confusing as it is, at the start, InGen just simply abandoned the dinosaurs. They have various lawsuits, which we've seen in this deleted scene here from The Lost World. I'll just quickly play it for you now.
Wrongful death settlements, partial list. Family of Donald Gennaro, $36.5 million. Family of John Arnold, $23 million. Family of Robert Muldoon, $12.6 million. Damaged or destroyed equipment, $17.3 million. Demolition, deconstruction, and disposal of Island Nublar facilities, organic and inorganic, $126 million. The list goes on. Research funding, media payoffs. Ooh. Silence is expensive.
So not only did they have to pay out the families of the victims, they then had to silence any potential press or family members. Now here's where things get really interesting. Masrani Global comes on the scene at 1998 and buys out InGen. So at this point, they now have access to Isla Nublar and Isla Sorna respectively. And at this point in the timeline, it's important to note that all dinosaurs were simply left abandoned. And I know you're probably thinking, well, in Jurassic Park 3, set in 2001, no one's on the island. No Masrani Global, the dinosaurs are still abandoned. They are, but InGen actually go back to the island in 1998 illegally and clone 4 more species. That's where the Spinosaurus comes from. Eventually they leave a few years later, likely because the Spinosaurus causes absolute carnage and escapes, and then Masrani Global move in. Now immediately you think they would take the dinosaurs off the island for Jurassic World. Well, they do, but that isn't until 2004, and by then some of the dinosaurs have mysteriously disappeared. Because let's think about it, if the Spinosaurus was on Isla Nublar in 2004 when Masrani Global were collecting dinosaurs for Jurassic World, they would have collected the Spinosaurus, right? They didn't, because the Spinosaurus and several other dinosaurs were not there, or worse, killed. You see, after Jurassic Park fell in 1993 and up to 2004, illegal dinosaur hunts and poaching was taking place on both islands. Manticore, which is kinda like a rival to InGen and Biocen, go back to the islands and capture the dinosaurs. We see them in Camp Cretaceous, which is a canon show. We see the Spinosaurus and other Tyrannosaurus which they take off of Isla Nublar. The dinosaurs I'd mentioned earlier from Jurassic Park were also missing because they don't appear in Jurassic World. Now, they could have either been A, killed by Rexy herself when they were left abandoned on the island, or B, killed by illegal game hunts. Yes, I know it sounds mad, but we see Roland Tempo in 1997. His entire goal was to hunt a Tyrannosaurus Rex. As a game hunter, that's what he wanted to do. He wouldn't be the only person in the world to want to go to them islands to hunt dinosaurs. We actually see this happen in the storyline of Camp Cretaceous Season 3. People go back to Nublar to hunt dinosaurs, game trophies. It's likely several of the dinosaurs on Nublar and Sorna suffered this fate before Jurassic World had opened in 2005. You see, what many people don't actually realise is that the movie takes place in 2015. 10 years after Jurassic World had already opened in 2005. There's actually a novel called The Evolution of Clay, which is set in 2004. It goes into how Clay was actually an intern and she was 19 years old, and follows her and Masrani Global taking dinosaurs off of the other islands. They also note in this book that people had been poaching and killing dinosaurs on the island. Well, both islands, the original Jurassic Park and Isla Sorna. And I know you probably think now it's open shut case, we know what happened to the dinosaurs. Well, we know what happened with some of them. There's still more going on behind the scenes, as nuts as it sounds. You see, it's important to note that The Evolution of Clay is actually canon to the Jurassic World franchise. So everything that takes place in that book is canon. You see, just before Jurassic World opens, they only have 2 carnivores, a T-Rex and a Dilophosaurus. That tells us some really important information, that the only carnivores left were them 2. All other carnivores on both islands were either killed or stolen. And this is where it gets interesting. Apart from a single velociraptor that was introduced just before Jurassic World opens. Now, it couldn't have been a velociraptor from Jurassic Park because they were killed, but it could have been a velociraptor from Isla Sorna. It's also noted that Jurassic World had 3 brachiosauruses, but Jurassic Park actually had 4 on the same island, meaning one of the brachiosauruses has mysteriously disappeared or was killed. So the dinosaurs left abandoned by Jurassic Park in 1993, only a handful actually survived, meaning the majority of them were killed off by poachers, stolen, or died from other apex predators such as Rexy, maybe some Dilophosaurus. They could have died out to some diseases as well. Obviously, people mention the lysine contingency, but that doesn't really affect the animals, believe it or not. Hence how all the animals on Isla Sorna are still thriving until 2001. The really sad thing for me, however, is the fact that these animals were just simply left abandoned with the power still on, meaning the majority of them probably would have starved in their own paddocks because the feeders would eventually run out. Sure, the power would then run out, but that means the carnivores would then be able to get to the herbivores, creating a bloodbath situation. Coupled with the fact that people were going to these islands to hunt the animals anyway after the San Diego incident. And there's something else I haven't even touched on yet, and that is the human part of this video. People going back to the island, InGen going back to the island, their cleanup operation. And the reason I haven't touched on any of that, I wanted this video to primarily focus on the dinosaurs. Because this video right here, what happened after Jurassic Park fell in 1993, goes into the cover-up, the conspiracy, people going back to the island, and I highly recommend watching that after this. There is a caveat though, some parts had to be cut because Universal claimed copyright on them. So there's a couple of jump cuts, but you can still make out what's going on. And if you've watched all this way, you clearly love dinosaurs as much as me, so hit that subscribe button. There's plenty of dinosaur content on this channel, and always stuff coming out to keep you interested. Massive thanks to the InGen research team who are on screen now. I couldn't do it without your support, guys, especially when the YouTube algorithm doesn't favour me. So thank you very much for supporting me. And if you came across a velociraptor out in the open, could your day get any worse? You bet Jurassic can. Catch you later.